Wanted? It says wanted here. Do I have wanted written?
It's now 6 o'clock. I'd like to call to order the Regional Planning Commission public hearing for January the 2nd. Like I said, it's 6 p.m. We'll start off with the pledge. Mr. Davis, would you lead us, please?
United States of America, and to the republic which stands. And is liberty. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. If you have a cell phone or electronic device, as I always say, please either turn it off or put it on vibrate so we won't be interrupted. Sarah, I'll now come to you for the roll call and determination of quorum.
Mr. Peterman?
Present.
Mr. Servon?
Present.
Mrs. Karcher?
Present.
Mr. Galvry is absent. Mr. Mills?
Here.
Mr. Davis?
Here.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
So you have 6 present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Before you, Commissioners, you have the agenda for tonight's meeting. If there's no changes, additions, or corrections, I'll entertain a motion. Mr. Mills?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Davis, second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. Sarah, call the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to approve.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to approve.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to approve.
So you have 6 yeas in favor of approving tonight's agenda.
Thank you very much, and I'll come right back to you for introduction and public hearing instructions.
Thank you. This public hearing is being conducted for the purpose of giving the citizens of the county the opportunity to present testimony on the applications before the Regional Planning Commission. Everyone will have an opportunity to speak. All statements are to be made from the podium at the front of the room. All testimony given shall be sworn or affirmed. For the record, please give your name and address. Copies of any written statements or exhibits used during the hearing should be presented for identification and inclusion in the record. The record will remain open for 2 business days following tonight's hearing. For each application before the Commission, the chairman will introduce the application. Then the applicant or representative will be given 15 minutes to present the application. Then those in favor of the application will be allotted 5 minutes each to speak. Then those opposed to the application will be allotted 5 minutes each to speak. When everyone has had an opportunity to give testimony, the hearing on the application will be closed. No decision will be made by the Commission tonight. The Commission will hold a public business meeting next Thursday, January 9th at 6 p.m., at which time it will make a decision on the applications heard tonight. All information of record will be considered, and a common vote of 4 members is required to make a decision. Anyone may attend the business meeting, but no new testimony will be received. The public notice of this hearing was published on December 11th, 2024 in the Delaware State News. And the Kent County Levy Court will hear these applications on Tuesday, January 28th, 2025 at 7 p.m. unless tabled by the Commission or withdrawn prior to the Levy Court hearing. The Levy Court also meets in this room, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. We'll now get into the public hearing. The first application on tonight's agenda is CS-25-01. Application title is Tidewater Utilities, Eagle Meadows. Owner is Eagle Meadows, Delaware 1, 2, and 3 LLC, 101 Chase Avenue, Suite 401, Lakewood, New Jersey 08701. Applicant is Tidewater Utilities, Inc., 1100 South Little Creek Road, Dover, Delaware 19901. Engineer is Beacon Engineering LLC, Robert J. Palmer, P.E., 23318 Cedar Lane, Georgetown, Delaware 19947. Zoning district is AC. Relation to the growth zone is inside. Present use is residential with a water tower. Proposed use is the same with a replacement of the water tower. Levy Court is the 5th, Mr. Sweeney. School district is Cesar Rodney. Fire district is Camden, Wyoming, Station 41. It's actually 0.3 acres on the west side of Locust Grove Road, approximately 1,900 feet south of Sorghum Mill Road, south of Dover. Is there somebody here representing this application?
Good evening, Elio Batista Jr., Parkowski, Gherkin, Swayze, Dover, on behalf of the applicant, Tidewater Utilities. Good evening, Commissioners. As indicated, we're here seeking a waiver of certain requirements of the zoning code with respect to setback. Tidewater is here seeking to install a new water tower. We are looking to replace an old water tower which has been decommissioned and out of service for about 15 years. The new water tower will be a modern tower, substantially larger. Just to give you some background, the Camden district in which Tidewater services has approximately 20,000 residents. Right now, there are only 2 towers that are servicing them, and we know that that area is growing, and we have to be prepared to meet the needs of the community and fire protection. The new tower that will be installed will be equal to the 2 towers that are there now, therefore ensuring that the residents will have adequate water protection and fire suppression availability. The waiver we're seeking is a setback. As indicated, we are removing the old tower and replacing it with the new tower. Mr. Palmer from Beacon Engineering will explain the actual physical characteristics. With respect to the legal characteristics, you'll see that with respect to the new plan, there's really there's really no way we can strictly comply with the code and meet the requirements of putting that tower where it is now and keeping it accessible. And Mr. Palmer will get into that also. Unless you have any questions for me, I think it would be more informative for Mr. Palmer to make his presentation, and there's some visuals that I think will put everything in perspective, why we're seeking what we are. Thank
Does
you.
any of the commissioners have any questions for the attorney? Seeing none, let the other gentleman come forth. Give us his name and address, and I guess the attorney is online, correct, Sarah? You'll be sworn or affirmed.
Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year. For the record, my name is Bob Palmer with Beacon Engineering. Address is 23318 Cedar Lane, Georgetown, Delaware, representing the applicant Tidewater Utilities.
I, Mr. Palmer, do swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
Okay. If I could get my slide, please. Perfect. Okay, so as Mr. Batista said, we're here this evening seeking a conditional use with site plan request for replacing the existing, it's called a double ellipsoidal elevated storage tank. It's basically a fancy name for a leg water tower. And the proposed capacity is about 500,000 gallons, and the height of the tower is 160 feet. And the Board of Adjustment granted us a variance for the height, the Section 205 setbacks, and allowing the on-premise sign a little bit larger than what the code requires. There it goes. Okay, so this is an aerial taken from the county's GIS portal. The magenta shape represents the overall size of the parcel where Eagle Meadows is situated. And down in the southeast corner of the property, there's a little green box, and then this inset box over here basically shows the location of where the water tower, the existing water tower is situated. And our intent is to demolish that water tower and replace it with a new modern pedestal spheroid style tank. And you'll see that later on in the presentation. But essentially this green box here is approximately 11,500 or so square feet, and that represents the easement that Tidewater has for constructing the water tower. This plan represents the existing conditions that are at the site today, and you can see in yellow, gold, that's the existing fence. That fence will be removed in its entirety and replaced with a new chain link fence, and I'll get into that in the next slide. There's an existing ground tank that will be removed, and then this orange circle, it represents the ball portion of the existing water tower. But there are 4 leg foundations that support that tower. And the legs will be removed, but the foundation will remain, and that's part of the reason for replacing the tower in the existing location. While we're putting in a larger tower, we're planning to reuse a portion of the foundation in the new foundation system for the new water tower. This slide represents our site plan, and like the last presentation, I colorized it. The magenta line represents the new fence area. These 3 circles represent the 3 the 3 trees that are required for to meet the forestation requirements. This cyan line here represents the water distribution system for Tidewater Utilities. There's an existing stub at this location that we'll be connecting into to provide connection of the water tower to the water distribution system. The dark blue circle here, that's actually the equator. That's the widest part of the tank, which is 130 or so feet in the air, so well above the site. The actual foundation of the water tower, and I should have shown it on this slide, is actually inset slightly, so the physical placement on the ground will be slightly farther from Locust Grove Road than the existing leg foundation is located. But suffice to say, the Board of Adjustment granted a variance from the front yard setback of reducing it to 9.13 feet, and then the setback to the south, which is an ag field, that's roughly a 27-foot setback that was granted. This is a section that shows kind of line drawing of how the water tower will look, with some information about the overall height of the tower being 160 feet. The top capacity line, which is basically the overflow of the water tower, that's at 147 feet. And that's important because that's what provides the system pressure for this water distribution system. And there are 2 reasons why the existing water tower, for no other reason to be demolished. There's 2 reasons. One is the water tower is too small. It doesn't hold the amount of water that we need to service the district. And if it were the right height, we may be able to have reused it and built this water tower smaller, but in another location in the district. But because the existing water tower is significantly shorter than this water tower, it's impossible to use in the Tidewater's water distribution system. If they were to turn this water tower on and allow it to fill, it would overflow, and none of the other 2 water towers in the system would fill to the proper capacity. So I think I may have testified in the last meeting that water towers could conceivably last forever. They can, but in this particular instance, the water tower, its height doesn't lend itself to that sort of longevity. The on-premise sign is the top of the sign is 143 feet from the ground, and the size of the sign is basically 42 by 16, and that's measured around the arc length of the water tower. Another real-world example, this is a 500,000-gallon water tower that I designed back in the mid-90s for the city of Rehoboth Beach. And again, it's in Sussex County, not Kent, but it's still representative of really what this water tower that we're proposing will look like when it's done, except instead of saying Rehoboth Beach, it'll say Tidewater Utilities. This water tower is a 500,000 gallon in size and is 150 feet tall. So to the setback, the Chapter 187 setback waiver requests. And we're requesting two, one being the 50-foot setback from parcel lines, and two, the distance from residential dwelling setbacks being 100 feet. And this red line here represents the front yards, the 205 front yard setback, which is 25 feet from the edge of the right-of-way, which is located here. It doesn't show the southerly property line, but this red line represents the Section 205 10-foot side yard setback. So by simply pulling a 50-foot dimension from the front yard and a 50-foot dimension from the side yard, you can see that the existing or the proposed location of the water tower is well outside of that, that area. And while it's possible to build the water tower in this location, we would not comply with the 100-foot setback from the residential setbacks. And I feel like I may have represented that incorrectly, but it's the best I can understand considering we're building within the overall building envelope of the parent parcel. The justification is that we're intending to essentially do as little harm to the neighborhood as possible. We have a water tower that's been in place since the early to mid 1970s that was built for the base housing that this once was. So by moving the water tower to attempt to meet one setback versus the other, we would have the effect of, even though it's within our easement, we feel we would have the effect of consuming open space for the community. So by keeping the water tower in its current location, tucked in as far away from the neighborhood as possible, we feel that is the best alternative. And again, the physical location of the water tower, it is consistent with Section 205 based on the variances that the Board of Adjustment granted us back in December. And with that, I will ask if you folks have any questions.
Okay, before I turn it over to commissioners, just a question for me.
Yes, sir.
When you destroy this water tower and it's none net right there, I guess you redirect the water supply from other sources?
Yes, the water tower will be fed by the existing wells in water treatment plants within the distribution system. There won't be any water production at this location.
There won't be any problem for the fire department or anything in water pressure and
sir.
all like that?
Yep.
So, then just another funny kind of question is, how long is it going to take those trees to grow up to 160 feet to cover that water tower? Now, I'll turn it over to the other commissioners now. So, Mr. Davis.
Just for my own curiosity, because I just don't know the answer, so I asked the question. This tower and all towers, you're not pumping from that location and filling it up and then redistributing the water, or does it come from someplace else into the tank, fills it up, and then it's distributed? I never knew the answer to that. And the second part of the question, with a well this size, what aquifer system are you getting into?
Sure. So, second question, very short. No wells at this site, so we're not into any of the aquifers, any more so than Tidewater Utilities water appropriation permits allow for this district. So no new wells planned or proposed to serve this water tower. Which leads me into the first question. The water tower actually floats on the system, and what that means is when the water tower is empty and we open the valve to fill it for the very first time, water from the distribution system will rush in and it will fill that water tower to the point where if you've ever played with a garden hose that has water in it but both ends are empty, the water seeks its own level. Yes, sir. That's exactly what would happen here. And so the intent is that this water tower, its overflow elevation will be the same as the overflow elevations for the two existing water towers in this district, so that everything works in harmony.
Thank you very much. I've always had that question in my mind.
Sure.
About say any water tower, Is it well someplace else and distributed to the tank, and from the tank it's distributed to the other line? So thank you so much for educating me on that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. My pleasure. And if I could kind of divert and answer a question that you didn't ask. In our last presentation, we talked about fences and access and whatnot. And much like the water tower that we presented last month, the intent is this fence will likewise be fitted with an electric operated gate and Knox box and more than likely a siren, an SOS system that allows the gate to open automatically. Yes, sir.
Excuse me, I have to apologize. Been sick a couple weeks now, so I did notice there's a hydrant on the outside of the fence. So you're not going to relocate that. It'd still be on the outside of the fence, the hydrant?
That's correct.
Mr. Mills, anybody else have any questions? Thank you for your presentation.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
Is there anyone else here in favor of this application or on the phone line? Anybody on the phone? Anybody else here in favor of this application would like to speak? Is there anyone against this application or on the phone that's against this application? Anybody against this application? Third and final call? Then we'll be taking this project up next week. Thank you for your presentation. Our next project and our final project for the night is CZ-25-01 LC-24-36 Jacob Pollard. Applicant is Jacob Pollard, 6082 Mud Mill Road, Camden, Delaware, 19934. Owner is Direct and Connect Incorporated, 6645 Mud Mill Road, Camden, Wyoming, Delaware, 19934. AR zoning, requesting BG because it is split zoning as it is, and he's requesting BG for the back. Proposed zoning request is the BG. Relation to gross zone is outside. Levy Court is the 6th. School district is Cesar Rodney. Mr. Hertz is the district Levy Court Commissioner. Fire district is Camden, Wyoming, Station 41. 1 acre, area petition 0.6 acres located on the north side of Mud Mill Road. Is there somebody here representing this application would like to speak? Yes, sir. Please come to the microphone. You can be either sworn or affirmed, and our attorney is on the phone.
For the record, my name is Jacob Pollard, and I'm here to represent Direct and Correct Incorporated.
Mr. Pollard, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Could you pull the mic up to your...
Yes.
Kind of hard for us to hear it up here, especially when me like I am today, so.
Understood.
Go right away with your presentation.
Yes, sir. So we bought this property back in late 2022. We did not know that it was split zoning. We thought the entire thing was zoned BG. If you look at the Kent County GIS map, originally it shows you just BG until you click on the zoning map, and then the colors will show you that it's actually split zoning. So we did not realize that the rear half is actually zoned residential until we were applying for a permit for a property down the road, nothing to do with the business. And talking with the zoning office, we found out that the back half of that property is zoned residential. They brought it up to us because we had started parking our vehicles back there, our work trucks and things like that, because the two neighbors adjacent to the property had said that when we park our trucks in front, closer to the road, it blocks them from being able to see when they're trying to get out. So in order to keep them happy, we started parking around back, and that's when we found out that we're not supposed to have anything back there because it's not zone BG. So now that we know that, we are here applying to do things the right way and be within the zoning regulations for Kent County. A little bit about the property. The property has 2 buildings on the front half where it's zone BG. They were constructed in 1950. They're both brick and concrete buildings. We currently use those as an office and a storage. Was a secondhand farm store before we purchased it. Before that, it was a gun store, and before that, probably about 30 years ago, it was originally a meat market.
Yeah, it was actually the old Kemp's Meat Market.
It
I
was. yes,
remember
sir.
there's the old days like that, yes.
Yes, sir.
Remember very well.
It's also where I bought my first BB gun back when it was a gun store. But
Yeah, I must be getting old. Thank you, Mr. Davis. I appreciate that.
so since buying the property, we've repaved the front, added a little bit of pavement on the back end, and just generally cleaned up the building and the property. When we first purchased it, there was also a decrepit trailer on the back half of the property. We went ahead and removed that, so that's gone now. I do want to mention that myself and the owner of the business, we both live on Bud Mill Road, so if this does go through, we can store our equipment there. It's not going to be something that's not supervised. We're there constantly. We take a lot of pride in what we do and how our things look. So we're going to keep it neat and orderly. We're going to keep that good communication with the neighbors to make sure they still stay happy. We've talked with them a lot right now just to make sure we're not bothering them at all. They're very happy with us right now, so we definitely keep it that way. Pending any questions for me, that's all I have.
And you're aware that the county is recommending denial on this particular application?
I was not aware.
Sir, would you like to tell us, I guess because it's not a zoning change under Kent County Code 205-408B? Is that correct?
There are 4 criteria under which the code, under which we can recommend approval. Primarily, it's not in keeping with the character of the area, it's not in keeping with the comprehensive plan, and given the rather significant environmental considerations on that property, staff, in our evaluation, thought the better recommendation was denial.
Are you familiar with staff recommendations? I assume you got a copy of it, correct?
I do not.
Okay, I understand it was mailed to you. I assume it was mailed, correct?
I received the agenda via email. I don't remember getting an email about the staff recommendation. I can double check my email though.
She's going to supply you with a copy of it, and you have till closing on Tuesday, Sarah? Monday. You have till closing on Monday. If you'd like to say anything additional about why it should be instead of being denied like the planners are asking for.
Okay.
So that the final decision will be made by us, but we'll see what happens with that. Mr. Davis.
Is that one deed for the entire 2 parcels, or is it separate parcels or separate deeds?
I believe it's separated, sir, but I don't believe it's separated front half and back half. I actually think it goes through sideways. I know 6645 is one of the addresses. I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but there are technically 2 addresses to the property.
Are you saying that there's 2 deeds for that parcel? Or is it one parcel that half is BG and the other half is ACA, the AC classification? Or we just don't know for sure? I
don't know for sure. There may only be one deed. I just know that there are, in fact, 2 different mailing addresses.
Yeah, I'd kind of like to know that next week if you can get that answer for us, okay?
Yes, sir.
If it's 2 separate deeds or if it's one. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, like I said, you have to end of business day, which is 5 p.m. on Monday. Am I correct, Sarah? Any other commissioners have any comments or questions? Thank you, sir. We'll let you know about it next week.
Thank you for your time.
So I now ask on the phone. There's nobody in the audience. Is there anybody on the phone at all? So there wouldn't be anybody for or against because I don't see anybody in the audience. So we'll be taking this application up next week. Thank you for your presentation. Now down to public comment, and there's nobody on the phone, nobody in the audience, so we'll go down to commission comments. Anybody have anything to say? Paul?
I guess I just have a question. I think we all kind of forgot about it. Nobody wants to do it no more. But I was speaking to some other committees the county has, like ours, for example, and they all go out for Christmas. And we haven't been out as a group in about 4 years. Is there any reason for that? Is it our fault that we didn't bring it up to your attention? Because the Parks and Recreation, they all went out to dinner, and we haven't done it in a long time, so maybe some of our people don't want to participate. I'm just kind of curious about it.
Traditionally, the Planning Commission has done an annual meeting and dinner in the summer. But the past several years, the commissioners, in some instances, we simply couldn't schedule it because people were not available. Other years, people were simply not interested. It is budgeted. We budget for it every year.
But we've had them in the summer, so people's on vacation. It would be better to have it when, like the other people, they just had one the other night. Maybe it's the time of year where people are busy. I mean, I don't know how the other commissioner feels about it, but everybody else gets something and we don't get nothing. So I think we ought to take a look at it. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I remember we used to meet in August because we had the elections at our dinner. Am I correct, Sarah?
We long ago stopped doing elections at the dinner. We just do those at a business meeting, but we've done dinners, we've done lunches, and then the commissioners weren't interested.
Yeah, I just don't think there's been any interest, Paul. You know, maybe for you, but maybe you ought to maybe get Kathy to send it out to commissioners, see if they have any comment. We could write you back email and let it know what happened. Yes, sir. Do you have something you want to say?
There's a caller on.
Okay. So we're really past all the public comment and all. Oh, Denise is online. Denise, would you like to say something?
Well, the only thing I remember about with regards to meeting at the Christmas time is isn't there a general Christmas get together, not just our group? Am I correct, Sarah?
The staff traditionally does something, but not with all of
Right.
the board members.
Right.
So
I believe I've been to that in the past.
it's possible.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Also understand that if we all get together, you have to advertise that so that we can't be together, like for a majority.
Correct. There can never be a majority of you together without an advertised meeting.
Okay, I can live with that. Just as a suggestion, the county has a Christmas party for all the county employees. Maybe we ought to ask if we can attend that.
That's beyond my role as a planning director, Commissioner Davis.
I know, but so who do we talk to about that?
Where do you have it at? I'd like to ask that question.
The rec center.
Oh, over on New Burton Road?
Yes.
We had a nice one the other day. I mean, I'm not trying to stir up a big mess. I'm just saying that I hear other committees, they get to go out. We haven't been out, probably obvious reason. There's a scheduling problem with a lot of people. So then maybe we ought to look at the issue of, is summertime the time we want to do it? Do we want to do it when it's cooler out? I just think we need to take a look at it because we're kind of getting the short end of the stick. And everybody else goes has a good time. And I think the commission works very hard. I think your staff works hard. And I think we're entitled to have a night ourselves. So if you look into it, I greatly appreciate that.
We'll poll the commissioners.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can find out who the contact for that is, so we could maybe work to see what we could do next year. It's too late this year, I know. Do you actually have a catered meal, or do you bring covered dishes?
No, it's catered for the staff.
Okay.
It's paid for in part by the levy court and in part by employee council.
Okay, because you say we do have a budget to do that.
We have a budget for an annual dinner. Yes.
So if you have a budget, it means that we need all that money we didn't eat before, right? I'm just kidding. We got plenty of money to eat. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else on the line, sir? Any other business before the commission? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I have a motion and a second. Poll the commission.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Servon?
Yes to adjourn.
Mrs. Karcher?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Mills?
Yes to adjourn.
Mr. Davis?
Yes to adjourn, and Happy New Year to Denise and the rest of the commission. Thank you.
Mr. Jester?
Yes to adjourn. Thank you all, and we'll have the continued party next week.